Welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Pachuto, and I'm very excited to have my friend and two-time guest of the year award recipient, Lynnette Blanche, with us today. What's going on, dude?
How are you?
I'm drinking some Starbies, living the dream.
You went straight in on that. Like not even a second after I joined and you were like, "We're doing this."
I mean, I believe I was instructed to do so I didn't think I had a
Yeah.
choice in the matter. I think it goes without saying that the wrong advice is a pun. Ultimately, I don't think anyone has necessarily the right advice, right? You got to figure out what works for you.
hmm
I am of the mind that I am a big proponent of do as I say and not as I do because I very rarely take my own advice. So,
Right.
all in all, I just think it is a really marketable way of saying that you should download, like, and subscribe to my podcast.
But wouldn't that be the wrong advice?
No, that's the right advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to know with
Yeah.
that type of title what I'm supposed to do or not do, John.
Pun intended.
Um, it's funny. I was talking to Stefan, and he said the funniest thing. He's like, I was thinking about, because I was telling him how I think you're just an incredible host in general.
Oh.
And he said, I was thinking about like alternate names for his show. And you know the old Chia pet commercial?
Yeah.
He's like, that came to mind. And I was like, chudo. And I was like, that's brilliant. And so Steph is really the remix master, and I'm just the songbird that delivers it. So
Yeah, I'm gonna set so like I made the intro jingle to my podcast and I think it's going to be altered
it
very
has to
soon.
be. It has to be. It's actually
Chudo.
brilliant. Yeah.
I've got
You could do the P, like it could be a pichuchudo,
yeah.
but I kind of like the chichachudo instead.
I think
So
that should be like my cut song, right? Like when I cut from one scene to another, it should be
totally.
chudo.
Yeah,
I
there you
fucking
go.
love that. How is
It's
Stefan? Is
been
he doing well?
He is, yeah. I feel like he's just always out there creating magic
Oh
every
man.
day.
So I loosely call myself a photographer. At times I do wonder what that
hmm
means. Man, that
Yeah,
guy just doesn't miss, and I'm sure there are a myriad of ways in which he does miss, right? No one's perfect, but when
yeah.
he is intentionally creating something, I mean, the fucking landscapes that he shot last week were just
It's
so
insane.
dumb. Oh my
Yeah,
god, what the fuck?
it blows my mind all the time. Like, I think, I said this to you in that text message when you were talking about I think it was with the Panax shots potentially, and like, he is constantly pushing himself. Like,
Hmm.
every time I see him put something out, it's like different or new, whether it's, models or it's landscape or it's
Yep.
aerial or it's street or it's florals. Like,
He
I
has
just
no boundaries.
blows my mind. I know,
Zero.
and he does it all so well and so uniquely.
Yeah.
It's so impressive. He is
It's
phenomenal.
I mean, to me, one of the truly great things about the podcast is that I mean, he is like my greatest inspiration from photography perspective. I've followed him on Instagram for years. I've got a multitude of his prints on my walls. And the
Yeah,
fact that like he was on my podcast, like I wouldn't say we're friends, but he's like fucking someone that I can call and be like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" You know what I mean? Like that's wild. Like,
he's
life
so
is
humble.
yeah. I mean, he is one of, I would say, probably my greatest photography inspiration, bar none.
Yeah,
It's
he
crazy.
truly is an artist. I think that's like,
Best
you
way. Yep.
know, he really is an artist. Like he is creating art every day. It's wild. Yeah, he is a very special human.
Oh my God, to say the least. It's also, like I said, it's immensely frustrating because the guy don't miss, right?
Mm,
Like, it's like, I just don't, he has no boundaries in his work. And I think that is ultimately when you get to a place where you can be completely comfortable in your ability to create, you can create whatever the fuck you want and it's going to be good. I mean,
yeah.
it's amazing. And I think the only reason why I know who you are is because of him. You know what I mean? Like, it was a Twitter
Yeah,
space or something, and he was shouting you out about having helped him be onboarded in the NFT space. And I was like, oh, I should follow this person then. And then he was like, you should have Lynette on your podcast. And bam, that's what happened. It's like, what a
that's so
fucking.
funny.
That is the beauty
Yeah,
of
no,
life in a
it's
nutshell.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, bringing the world together.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking cool.
It
Yeah.
is very cool.
So what have you been up to, by the way?
A lot of nothing. I've been immensely slow work wise, at least paid work wise. The last, I want to say, month has been a lot of misses. I've had opportunities come and go that were supposedly nailed down that, and listen, I'm very pragmatic when it comes to this stuff. If you are
Right.
able to do it cheaper and in house, I totally understand not hiring someone outside. I get it. But yeah, I've been slow. Like the podcast is doing great, which I'm super excited about. It's funny. I have come to the realization that if something breaks for me in my quote unquote career, it's going to be my podcast because I have an innate ability to do this well and
You
have
do.
conversations with people. So it's okay
Hmm.
if I don't become a famous photographer, but if I make a fuckload of money doing a podcast, I'm okay with that, right? Like,
That would be awesome.
ching
You, it seems
ching,
like,
bring it
yeah.
in, manifesting.
Totally.
Yeah.
You've been like super active on Twitters these days, or the Twitter space rather.
Yeah, I have been, and it is intentional. I've got probably 400 or 500 new followers in the last month. I'm being very intentional about
Whoa.
it being the place where I put all my energy. I totally crushed my Instagram account. I dropped down to like 50 posts. Like I spend zero time on Instagram.
Right.
It's just not for
Well,
me.
no, I do think there's definitely something to be said about the engagement that you can see on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's just different than, I mean, I feel like it's also just because Instagram sort of run its course.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Like,
dying.
yeah, it's dying. It's not really that interesting. It's just basically trying to replicate what TikTok's doing,
Yep.
but like not really doing it well. And it's late. Like people will sometimes send me DMs on Instagram, and I'm like, thanks, I saw this a week ago. And I don't want to
Yeah,
say that.
me too.
I'm like not going to be that person, but I'm also just kind of like, I saw this a week ago.
Yeah, my
So
my two most used apps are TikTok and Twitter. And for that
yeah,
reason, I'm going to take a TikTok video right now because if I don't do it, like, you know, I I I've gotten to the point where I'm trying to be really diligent about posting on TikTok, and I'm going for this entire week. I'm going to post 3 times a day, and it's going to be dumb bullshit like this, me talking on my podcast with my phone. But I think if I can get out the content, there's an opportunity. You never know what's going to happen, and it's the only platform where the true viralness is possible. Right? It's not going to
yeah,
happen on Twitter. It's not going to happen on Instagram. So it can happen on TikTok.
it's true. And it does take time, to your point. And the algorithm and TikTok in general does reward consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's like a little bit of like perseverance that has to happen. I mean, yeah, some people do definitely get lucky, like their first or second post, but almost everyone that I know who has gone viral or seen success on TikTok has said they just kept posting and posting and posting, and then it's just like one day
Yep.
it happens.
And that
So
that is the That is the mindset that I'm taking into TikTok, and that is the mindset that I'm taking into Twitter, and it's working on Twitter so far. TikTok, I really just started 2 days ago, so I'm gonna just be hyper vigilant about it, and I'm gonna post, and I'm gonna create, and I don't give a fuck what it is, like
it's a cringe-free space.
100%.
You have the room and safety and permission to be your unadulterated curly haired self.
Exactly, yeah, and you have COVID, so
Do you have COVID? Can you believe after all this time? And
doesn't it feel
I've
like
been
icky?
so
Like you
good.
went 2 years and you didn't get it, and you're like, ew, I have COVID now. 2 years later, yuck. Narrator John here. Approximately 1 week after this conversation with Lynette, I myself came down with COVID.
Yeah, I don't know if it feels icky. There's certainly like a rage spoiling within me because it was as a result of business travel that was quote unquote required mandatory in-person meeting.
Oh God.
And then I walked into the room and there were like 15 people on a Zoom and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, why am I here?
Yeah, I'm like, why are those people on a screen and I'm here? And then I got COVID. And, almost 10 days later, I'm still in the same hotel room at the Viceroy in Chicago.
Well, I can think of worse places to have COVID.
It's true. And look at the flowers.
Yeah. Did people
Speaking of,
send those to you?
they did. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you metaphorical flowers. I think you're a really cool person, and I'm super glad you didn't die of COVID. So,
Thank
yay.
you. It's been a journey,
Yeah.
needless to say.
Yeah. Well, you sound fine, so that's good. It's obviously
Thank you.
stepping in the right direction of healing and health. And a couple more days, they'll let you out of there, and back to
Yeah,
New York you'll go.
I can't wait. I'm flying back on Friday. I've never been so thrilled to be back in New York.
So my second stop on my cross country trip in 2020 was to Chicago, and I shot so much portrait in Chicago and some Cinestill,
Ooh,
and I took a million fucking Chicago photos. And I love Chicago. My dad was born there. I'm a big Chicago fan. I went to Cubs games, and not during the pandemic, obviously, but like, I've been to Chicago 4 or 5 times in my life. I love
wow.
Chicago. Chicago is the one city that I think if I ever left New York, New Jersey, is where I would end up.
What?
Yeah, I love Chicago.
Wow. This is blowing my mind. And no one on the podcast needs to know why, but that was
Yeah,
good. Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, take it out.
I'm an LOL kind of guy. I make people chuckle. I think that's why I'm so good at my job, which pays me $48 to date.
Wait, which job?
My podcast. This is my job.
Oh, okay.
Full time
Well,
host.
you're a multi-hyphenate man. I had to, I have to clarify.
Yeah, no, I know. Master of none would be the exact way to describe me. Fuck Aziz Ansari. I think that is me in a nutshell.
That's not true though, because you're doing these things quite well.
Master of none. But actually, that quote is not a negative thing. It's like master of none is still a better than someone who. And it's like I'm actually gonna look it up because the actual entirety of that quote is good. It's like a positive thing.
The jack of all
Master,
trades.
yeah, of none is still a jack of all trades. Master of none quote.
Yeah, I do think there's something to be said about, as I described you, a
A
multi-hyphenate
jack of
person.
all trades is a master of none, but it's oftentimes better than a master of one. And
Yeah,
I do believe that. I can do a
I
lot
think
of shit. I'm like very multifaceted,
I think that's
hyphenated
important.
up the ass. So many
Oh my God,
hyphens.
look at this! Your Italian hand came out.
It was
Um,
for effect. That was supposed to be a
Talk to
hyphen.
me about the cooking and like the posting.
It's just so I can get laid.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, this is actually fascinating insight
Yeah.
because little did I know that your Twitter feed is actually just a giant peacock feather.
Yeah. I mean, my social media in general is just to elicit DMs from the opposite
Oh,
sex. Yeah.
and does it work?
No, of course not. Why would it? It's ridiculous. No, in all seriousness, I do the ongoing joke on Twitter that I have is I'm so single, and then look at this beautiful thing I made. Right? I'm like
Yeah.
so single, but like what's that new trend that's going on TikTok? He's a 10, but he drives a Volvo or something, so he's a 2.
And
Right. So it's like
but
so
he's a mama's boy.
that makes me a 12 for sure.
No
Of
way.
course,
He's
what's
an
wrong with
eight.
a mama's boy is 10 out of 10. So like my thing would be like I think I'm like a 7. So he's a 7, but he's 6'1", so I'm a 10. It's like so he's a 7, but he cooks, so I'm a 10. That's the joke.
That's if people want someone who's 6'1". I don't want anyone who's 6'1". That's too tall for me.
What?
Yeah, I'm not into it.
I've never been told that before in my life. No girl was
I
ever like,
mean,
I wish you were shorter.
so I love how the other day you were doing a really good Q&A on your Twitter space, and
Thank you. That
on
was
the
not
side,
that was not planned, by the way.
I thought it was. I was like,
No.
this is such a great format, and I loved it because you are always the one in the driver's seat with the questions.
I wonder if that is due to the fact that it's my podcast.
Oh, for sure. But
Yeah.
that's why I loved it, is I was like, oh my gosh, finally, for a change, we're hearing John talk about himself. It was really interesting.
Thanks.
And as you could hear, I was resisting someone trying to change the subject to Web3.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I've had enough. I've heard it all.
Okay, so what do you want to ask me?
Oh, well, I wasn't prepared to ask you a question, but
Thought that's where you were going with that.
no, but we could. We could actually do a Q&A times Web3.
Okay.
So you've been burning a lot of your collections lately.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. Yeah, fuck that shit. I mean,
Which
so
blows my mind.
yeah,
Because then you'll remint them as one of ones. And I'm like,
yeah.
what is happening with John in the world of Web3?
I make my decisions. I live with them for 48 to 72 hours, and then I change those decisions in some. All right, so here, I'm glad you asked this question because I do spend a lot of time thinking about it. Number one, I love the space. I'm bullish on it long term. I think we're in a bear market, crypto winter right now. It'll last for probably 12 to 18 months, and then things will start getting better again. So I love
Yeah.
it. I'm a big fan. I think that for the first time in human history, it has given artists an opportunity to present their work without having being put into a gallery that is oftentimes exclusive of artists just on a myriad of reasons. So I love it.
Hmm.
That being said, when I initially came into the space, I think I was just like drunk on my own bravado, right? Like I just think I had thought too highly of my work or what I was trying to present to the marketplace. So I put out a collection that was 21 pieces of one NFTs that include the physical negative in the artwork. I presented them
Yes.
at extremely extraordinarily high prices. And without question, they did not sell. And I'm not mad about it. I don't care. So I changed my mind and I burned the collection. I started presenting them as one of ones at a different, lesser price on Foundation. I have sold one at a lesser price on Foundation.
Hmm.
I created a collection shortly thereafter titled My Journey to Now, which was basically my 2020 trip across the country, which was 40 photographs, one of ones presented at a much more collectible price.
Hmm.
And I felt really good about it because I had sold NFTs at that price, at edition price, at one of one price. So it felt like I took those 40 photos, I basically diced them up into four 10 photo sections and priced them like these were at 0.05, these were at 0.75, these are at point 0.1, and these are at point 0.2. So I did that for the collection. I
Hmm.
sold zero of them, and it was in it. It was alive for about 3 months, and I'm really proud of that project. I'm really proud of that work, and I'll probably end up turning it into a photo book at some point because the work is good, right? The way I presented it as NFTs, maybe not. I don't know, but at the end
Well,
of the
wait, let's talk about that for a second. So you said, you might turn it into a book, but maybe not as NFTs. Why do you feel that way? Like, dig into
so
that.
so I think that like I took I don't know, 2,000 photos when I was on this trip, right? So I picked
Yeah.
40 of them to live in this collection. And I think some of those photos are extremely strong, like the one I just reminted today on Foundation. Is one of my favorite photographs I've ever taken. And I think some of them were weak, right? So they don't necessarily belong as NFTs, but they could easily make up a page in a photo book, right? Or a
Gotcha.
half page or a quarter of a page in a photo book. So for me, what I'm doing now is after having burned the collection, I'm going to take the ones that I love and remint them as one of ones on Foundation because I'm now looking at how I want to present my work in the space as Foundation is going to be the place where I mint one of ones, right? OpenSea will be the place where I mint editions. I have one collection there of 9 photographs that were initially burned out of my first collection that I can't get rid of because one of them has been collected.
Mm.
Otherwise, I would delete them all and move on. But I've sold, I think, 10 editions now. And
Wow.
yeah, 10 editions. I mean, my fucking editions are $28 right now. When I minted them, they were 80, right? So it's like, you know, it's really my friends are collecting my editions, and I'm okay with that because I collect theirs, and it's one big circle jerk. But I love it. It's nice. And I preface all this with like, I'm not in this space to get rich. I'm not going to be an NFT
Yeah.
photographer where I'm just selling NFTs and making my living, right? I'm very pragmatic about it. I put a specific amount of money in the space, and that's it.
Right.
It'll just
Yeah,
keep churning. I'm not putting more in, although I do contradict
you
myself
are. You
constantly.
continue.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, the amount of money you've made versus the amount of money you've spent minting and burning.
Well, so
Definitely, it has to be a delta.
OpenSea costs nothing to burn, right? So and nothing to mint. So I've spent nothing when it comes to OpenSea, right? So the only money I've spent is really minting on Foundation. It's like fucking $10 every time I want to put something on Foundation. It's like fuck you guys, and then they charge you to fucking settle the auction. It's like what is
Wait,
going
you
on
don't have
here?
to settle the auction though.
Yeah, you don't. That's correct, right? So I bought an NFT on Foundation for the first time last week, and the seller, the photographer, settled the auction, which I was confused about because I settled the other one that I sold on Foundation. So it's just like, why is this even an
Yeah.
option? Settle it
You
yourself,
shouldn't have to
Foundation.
settle though. Well, yeah, that's true. I do agree that that step should be included in the
Fees.
journey itself. Right. Like they should eliminate that step. It feels very like dial-up internet days where
Mm-hmm.
you have to like listen to the boing boing. Um, I think that should just be like integrated somehow into the purchase process. But if we are going to talk about this, I do think that the purchaser should be responsible, or that the etiquette should be that the buyer settles the auction.
I agree, because I had been prepared to with the photo that I collected.
Interesting. And you're sure it wasn't you that it actually went through?
I'm well, now that you say that, no, I'm
You may
not
have settled
sure.
your own auction.
Now that you say that, I'm not sure. So I don't know. Very fair point. I am unsure. Such a fun time.
It's definitely working through, you know, some of those beginner challenges,
Yeah,
early inception issues.
that is for sure.
Totally. I have personally never purchased anything that I believed would get me rich.
Fair.
And that was never the game for me. It was always about, well, I think, as I've said before, it was always about like the journey and experimenting and like understanding the world and like staying close to the space, especially as it continues to change and grow and evolve. And I think even in the dip, it's important to stay close to it. But I just never thought that I was going to be like rich off a flip, you know? Like I didn't see that being my story. So I feel like I'm not disappointed because that wasn't an expectation that I ever set for myself.
Because I think at the end of the day, that's ultimately the best part about this space is I've met so many cool people, made so many amazing friendships, and that to me is 10 out of 10 amazing. And
Totally.
that's much, much, much more important than whether I sell a piece for 1 ETH. Truly.
It makes me so happy to hear you say that. And I was thinking this the other night because I feel like the first time we spoke, you were in a dark place with the NFT community.
Yeah, because I was bummed. Like I was. So I'll give you where my context was. And what was this, like 12 days ago? No, I'm just kidding. Like, I don't know. When...
It feels like it was 12 days ago, but I remember being like, I want to stop you and like encourage you to not give up on the space.
So here, and let me give you my brutal, honest truth of what my initial onboarding into the space was. I have been a diligent Twitter user for years. Twitter is my platform. I saw people come into the space who had never tweeted before. They have an account from 2022, and they're getting tens of thousands of Twitter followers in 5 minutes. And it's like a carryover from Instagram and a carryover from Facebook and stuff. And I was like, man, this is my place. Like, I've been here forever, and I'm not getting that kind of growth. And that, number one, pissed me off. Because I was like, this is my place. Like, this is my joint. And two, I came up with something that I thought was an incredibly unique and different way to present myself in the space. And I felt like no one else was doing that. And it was a really cool, unique opportunity to like present myself as a whole unique artist in the space, and it flopped and pissed me off. And I think that's okay. Like, I think the best part about it is being able to admit that I was totally disenfranchised and put off immediately, because I felt like unfairly so, I felt like the face failed me versus I failed in the space. And I think through context and through learning and through like the last few months, I learned that I failed in the space. The space had nothing to do with failing me.
Right. So you've come full circle.
Full circle. That's why I'm burning it all to the ground.
And now you are just hosting like
the best
John
podcast.
Pacino Twitter spaces about strip clubs and porn.
Strip clubs, porn, virginity lost and gained.
Web3. And Web3, of course.
Yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit about Web3. I hope that people didn't lose every dollar that they had in the space. Like, I've been a very pragmatic person in the space. If you're trying to be a full-time NFT photographer, you better have the best fucking work on the planet and hundreds of thousands of followers across multiple platforms. Otherwise, you can't do it. And if you are trying to do that, you need to be hyper vigilant about what you do with your money in this space, because again, we've seen in a 2-week period a 70% decline in the price of ETH. So if you're not smart about how you facilitate your money in the space, you can get fucking wiped out. And I think honestly, because we're so early in the space, it's a great opportunity for people to learn an incredibly valuable lesson. This shit doesn't always go up. This is not like party in the fucking sky. It's
I thought you were going to say USA and have a Miley Cyrus moment for a second.
Party in the USA. I said, hey, I'm defend my song, but find a way.
I got really excited there for a second.
It's my jam.
It's funny. You were just saying something. Oh shit! What did you say that made me think of something? Fuck! What was I just gonna say? It's gone. This is COVID brain.
Do 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 do. Do, 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 do,
My
do, do,
COVID
do,
brain is
do,
so
do,
bad.
do, 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 do,
It's
do,
gone.
do,
It's
do.
completely gone.
Womp womp. Okay.
Moving on. Oh man, but it was such a good, it was going to be good
That couldn't have been that good.
because I don't remember it.
Yep.
You know, I had a teacher that used to say that all the time, and I disagree.
I often think that we as human beings think everything that we have to say is super important. So we think
That's just
that,
you, John.
yeah, I mean, it is fact.
Chudo.
Judo. Yeah, Stefan, if you listen to this, I am definitely turning that into my cut song. Do you consciously think about your work in any way where you're judgmental on it?
We've talked about this before.
I know, but I'm bringing it up now because I'm bringing it up because I sent you a photo I took last night, and you didn't want to tell me if you thought it was good or not.
Um, I'm very aware of my shortcomings.
And that's because you're 5'2", or because why?
It's because I am a very short person. Um, but I think as a person, I'm surrounded by creative and artwork all the time, as I've said before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've worked for many years with a creative director who was just incredibly talented. And I spent years and years and years listening to him feedback on creative work. So I think I'm constantly aware of what's good, quote unquote, and not good, or at least my personal preference for something that I like or don't like.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause obviously, good is subjective, but
Extremely
so
subjective. So that being the case, what did you think about my photo last night?
I thought, hold on, let me pull it up. Because to be fair, I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it
No, I know
because
you were busy.
I wasn't busy. I was laying in bed watching a really bad, like, coming of age show on
Freeform.
Netflix. No, it was on
I
Netflix.
do have one bone to pick with you, and it has nothing to do with what you thought about my photo. It is entirely due to the fact that you don't put work out ever.
Yes, I do.
Bullshit.
What do you mean by put work out?
Like, you don't post a lot on Instagram, you don't post a lot on Twitter, and you don't share a lot of work. I.e., you don't put out a lot of work.
I
I'm not saying
know.
you don't
Well,
make work. I'm just saying you don't put anything out.
it's true. I mean, I guess on Twitter, because I haven't really shared a lot of work, I could like repost stuff, like old work from Insta. I'm also just kind of like annoyed with like street photography space in general right now.
Because why?
I'm like over it. I feel like there's such a fatigue that I
Yeah,
have.
that's easy to feel.
And there's like I think I may have used the expression sea of sameness.
I like that.
But it's like I see a lot of like the same stuff and I don't know, I was just kind of like over it. And I think I personally needed like a palate cleanser for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, even when I'm out shooting street photography, I'm constantly taking photos of like, and, you know, people who shoot with me will know this. I'll stop them all the time. And I'm like, hold on a second. And it's like a crack on the street or a swipe of paint or like really weird random shit that isn't really a street photography, but I mean, I guess technically it is because it's the
Sure.
street.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think like I just wanted to kind of focus more on like stuff that didn't have humans in it for a little while.
I like that. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
It's so true. It's so, so true.
And I shoot my shot a lot.
You do?
Always.
Huh. Interesting.
Life is short.
It is.
So I was talking with a photographer friend of mine about how I've recently been going through my archives, and I've been spending a lot of time going through my old work and like sort of filtering it into buckets, right? So like I've found a lot of common themes in my work over the last couple of years, and they boil into couples and solitary figures alone in space, and like a bunch of different things that I've sort of started compiling photographs into buckets for. And I've started to notice that like I can draw a direct line to like where I was in my life and why those were the things that I was shooting. And ultimately, I'm going to try to put together a photo project that is of couples and a photo project that is together of like individuals in solace or whatever, right? But like if I went out with the intent to create photos for a particular project, I don't know that I could do that. Like I think it would become too forced, right? All of these instances are things that just sort of happened upon me, and I was subconsciously creating them that way.
I don't know if I believe that.
Interesting. Okay.
Haven't you ever listened, not to keep bringing him up, but like, haven't you ever heard Stefan talk about his point of departure?
Yes, but I don't know that that works for me.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily, it doesn't mean that you can't shoot anything else but that.
Hmm.
But I think it gives you a point of focus. And I don't know, like maybe there's other things that'll pop up along the way that you can still capture, but it's a little bit more of a like linear, uh, I don't know,
Thought
mind frame,
process, yeah. My
you know?
thing is like when I go out to the street, I'm totally devoid of any thought process. And it's me, my camera, my music. I always listen to music when I shoot, and whatever I see unfolds, I shoot. And to me, like if I went out with the conscious thought of creating a couple's photo or an individual photo, I would be trying too hard. And I don't like that method. Like to me, I want to create as the moments unfold before me versus me being focused on trying to make something happen.
It's interesting to hear you say that you want to capture the moments as they unfold before you, but you're listening to music.
Always.
Because oftentimes you can hear a moment before you see it.
To me, it's like a dance. Like I'm like dancing around the city, and I like I am the character, and I am just showing what I'm experiencing with my camera. Like it's me, right? Like it's yeah.
You are the main character of your life.
Fuck yeah, I'm the main character of everybody's life. Just kidding.
I think, yeah, no, I like to be able to hear the street. I think that's part of the experience.
No, I'm exactly the opposite, which is funny.
Wow.
I can't shoot if I'm not listening to music. Like
What?
I need the distraction. My fucking ADHD brain needs to be fragmented in a million pieces to like find that quiet. It's so weird. Like I need chaos to be able to like
Right.
la,
Flourish?
la, la, la. I'm just like doing hand gestures that the people on the listening won't hear.
Yeah. Wow. That is so interesting. Yeah. I think I used to do that originally when I first would walk, and it was like I was using my cell phone. So it wasn't really like, I guess maybe it didn't count, but
It counts.
um, thank you. But once it changed for me and it was a much more like active process
Hmm.
where I was like, I'm making something and trying to be more mindful of what I'm creating, I felt like I needed to hear what was happening around me.
I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying it doesn't work for me, and I
To-
think that's cool.
yeah,
To
it is
each their
cool.
own.
Totally. I 100% agree. Ch-ch-ch-chudoisms.
Chudo. Okay, 10-minute warning.
Okay.
Rapid question Q&A. You to
Oh, no, no,
me.
no, no, no.
You
Not
to
this
me.
again.
You to me. You to me.
No.
You asked
Me?
me. You asked
Oh,
me.
I don't know.
You're the Q&A boss. You're like this. That was so fun. You're in charge. 10-minute warning.
I'm really bad at rapid fire questions.
Chudo.
We also never talked about my feedback to your photo.
Yeah, yeah. Go for it. It's
What do I want to
beautiful,
ask
and I'm
you?
obsessed with it.
If you were going to have dinner with any celebrity, alive or dead, who would you have dinner with?
Alive or dead? Alive or dead? I think
Or
dead.
like a notable figure?
Alive would be John Mayer. I'm wildly inspired by him as an artist. I think his growth as a human being has been pretty refreshing to see. As an unabashed narcissist in his 20s to, this really nice, wonderful human being he sort of became in his 40s. I love his work. I love that he loves watches. I'm a big watch guy. Yeah, John Mayer. If you're listening to this, I would love to have you on the podcast. I would love to be your tour photographer. Let's do it.
But that was alive.
Oh, dead.
I mean, you don't have to have a dead person.
It'd be difficult to have a dead person on the podcast, but yeah. Um,
You don't have to answer that.
no, I want to. My grandfather, he died before I was born. I think that would be really cool to have a chat with him. He was like such a fucking like was some captain or something in World War II. Was friends with Joe DiMaggio, Frank Sinatra. Just like his life must have been
Oh,
wild. He died very young in his 40s of a heart attack, and yeah, my grandpa. I never met him. Would be cool.
what's one thing people don't know about you that people would be surprised to know?
Um, Yeah, I'm on the dating apps here and there, in the intermittent times in which I'm single, and I get that question a lot. What's something about you that nobody knows? It's an incredibly difficult question for me because I live such a open and vulnerable life, I think. To some degrees, I don't have secrets, right? Like I
Mhm.
post unabashedly myself on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, and I don't really keep anything from the world. I don't believe in living your life that way. I am who I am. I'm doxxed. I'm John Pacciuto. Like I'm me for my faults and me for my traits, and like I am who I am. So I don't really have anything that people don't know. Like I am, yeah,
I didn't know that you were a swimmer.
yeah. Back in the breaststroke, back in the day. Yeah. I mean, dude, I played every sport growing up. I was like the most athletic fucking kid. Like I played football, baseball, lacrosse, basketball, wrestling, swimming. Like I did it all. Like when you're a kid, you just like do all the things. So like in the summer I would swim, and in the fall I'd play football, and then in the winter I'd play basketball and do wrestling, and then in the spring I would play baseball and lacrosse. That's what I did.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. I did all the
You're,
things.
yeah, that is, I didn't know about the breaststroke, but
It was my best stroke, was the breaststroke. And it sounds like such a fucking line, but like I sucked at backstroke, I sucked at butterfly, and I was okay at freestyle, but I just had a real knack for the breaststroke. I think because the opening, you know, part of the race is, I think you're allowed 2 or 3 underwater strokes when you first dive in, and I used to get such a big lead off of the diving board and in those initial strokes that the rest of the race was pretty easy. And I just had a knack for that opening bit that I was good at it. Yeah.
hmm.
That being said, I quit swimming in like 7th grade, right? 7th or 8th grade, whenever, before high school. I never swam in high school.
Oh, you made it seem like it was like maybe you didn't. Maybe I assumed that it was like a
No,
later in life
I
type
said it
thing.
was a grammar school relay team that I was on, but yeah. It was 6th grade. I remember it vividly.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
we were gangsters in our little blue and white Speedos. True story.
uh,
Chudo.
have you ever been arrested?
I've been cuffed, never booked. True story.
Wait, what were you arrested for or cuffed
Not
for?
arrested, but I was cuffed twice. I was in college. I was drunk leaving a bar, and I saw this guy hit his girlfriend. So I ran across the street and I beat the
Oh,
shit out of him, and I got arrested in air quotes. I got put in the back of the car, and then when onlookers told the police what happened, they let me go.
hmm. Well, you defended someone, which I appreciate.
Yeah, thanks. I like
You went to
beating
bat.
people up who deserve it. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, totally. Violence is always the answer.
Always. Fact. Chudo.
My
Okay.
COVID brain is
Let's go with photo critique.
no, I don't want there to be like a live photo critique on your podcast.
Okay, or not.
I love that this woman must be Italian because she's wearing that little
Yeah, the horn.
the horn. Do you have the horn?
No. I
What?
have one. It's gold. I don't wear gold. I wear silver. So I have one, but it's gold. I don't like gold.
Totally. Well, at some point you'll have to turn into like a true gold-wearing Italian man.
100%. I've already picked out the little driver's cap that I'll be buying to wear around when I inevitably lose my hair. But for now it's just curly. Chudo.
Don Juan Pacciuto.
John Don Juan. Where do you want to be a year from now today?
Not in a Viceroy Chicago. Where do I want to be a year from now? In a house
That you
with a
own?
big, not that I own yet. Maybe. I mean, if it happens in a year, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be in a house outside of the city. I don't know where.
You want
We'll see that.
babies?
Do not want babies.
Nice. Yeah, me neither.
No children for me.
Nice. I agree.
Mm.
Okay, let's manifest that. We can make that happen. Hey, listen, I'm a firm believer. I've manifested almost everything in my life to this date. So now I just need to manifest that times, $400,000 to $600,000 extra, and like we're good. We Gucci.
Yeah, which by the way is not that much. You can do that. You've got it in you.
I think so. Yeah,
I know so.
probably.
I've seen you out there on that Twitter space.
I think within the next 2 weeks, I'll have like at least half of that, like 200K. So, yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. So, Lynnette, thank you so much for coming on today. Obviously, I love you very much as a human being, and it's been such a treat and a joy to become friends with you over, I don't know, whether it's been years or weeks or months at this point. But I appreciate you tremendously as the human that you are, and I'm very thankful for your friendship.
Right back at you, John. Right back at you. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for what's the word? See, I really do think COVID brain is a thing.
It is a thing.
Entertaining me?
You're welcome.
Not that though.
Oh. Keeping
you
you occupied?
All that out. No, I just think like I appreciate you being open to having a more open and like loosely formatted podcast situation with me. I was actually inspired by your Twitter space. It was a Q&A, and I was intrigued by some of your answers, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this is something fun that we should just do. And I'm glad that you were down for it.
I'm always down. I am down to clown, always. And we'll do it again in 6 months.
Down to curly hair clown.
Down to curly hair clown, a.k.a. why I'm wearing a hat. But thanks so much for coming on, Lynnette, and take care.
Thanks, John. Bye.